From being a sad and broken people pleaser to teaching other women how to own their power and be unapologetically themselves. Hey, all, I'm Sarah, your host at What's on Your Plate podcast. Today's guest, Samantha Kaye Harris, is giving us a glimpse into her experiences in male dominated workplaces and how she has learned to use her voice, assert her strengths, and be her own ally in places that have tried to keep her small. She's helping us challenge the societal norms that have glorified disrespecting women and helping us reclaim what is ours and stop taking responsibility for how other people feel about it. Ready or not, here she is. Let's welcome Samantha Kaye.
This is definitely a conversation that needs to be had more often than not. I hear so
Yes,
many women that are afraid, that are going through the same thing and think that they're alone. So I'm like, whoa,
yes.
let's get out here. Let's talk about all the things.
So, we're just going to get it going today and jump into this very important conversation here with Samantha Kaye. She is a certified life coach, speaker, and consultant with over 2 decades of experience thriving in male dominated fields. From being a supervisor in structural maintenance to operating heavy machinery to leading teams of over 60 men, she's often the only woman in the room. And Samantha learned early on the power of owning her voice and challenging societal norms that tried to keep her small. Woo! This is going to be so good today. I can't wait.
I'm so excited. I am. I'm excited to be here and to talk about all the things.
Yes, yes. You know, this is such an important topic to talk about. And, right off the bat, I just want to say thank you for putting yourself in the position to do this work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for saying that and acknowledging it because it's funny. I never thought I would be in this position. I never saw myself here. And to be placed in this position, higher power, source, however people want to say it, it is a gift that I think that I fought for such a long time and didn't allow myself to even acknowledge or want to be part of. But now that I am so grateful for the work that I do and the women's lives that I change.
Yes. Yes. And you are changing lives and empowering women to show up and just demand to know that they deserve to be in the space that they take up.
Yes, they do. A lot of times because of society telling us what we should do, who we should be, how we should talk, we allow ourselves to fall into them norms unconsciously and we do it. And we just mechanically show up and we don't even give our chance to expand past that. So I'm excited to see this shift in the world in women at this point.
Um, Tell us a little bit about your story of where you started your journey in the male-dominated fields that you've been in, and how you just knew that you had to speak up and speak out for women to not feel small in these spaces.
Okay. I started this journey, to be very honest. I wanted um, time at home. I wasn't always in structural maintenance. That's my job, offered a class to teach women, teach not just women, teach people how to do structural maintenance, paving, construction, plumbing, all the things. And it gave me weekends and holidays off. So I got into this field because I wanted weekends and holidays off. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what it was back then. And 24 years ago, I did it. I walked into it. I walked into this place where I was the only woman. I walked into a paving shop and I did, I knew the basics, but I didn't know all the things. And I kind of leaned towards the men telling me if it was right or if it was wrong or how I should show up. Or I lifted heavier equipment than I needed to, or, I just did extra little things around the shop. Besides what I was already doing, I wanted to be seen and heard and thought of as a good worker, needing everyone to like me. Oh, Samantha's part of the team. I didn't want them to say anything bad about me. So I was running around in this circle like a hamster. I was in this little hamster cage running around and around just to be noticed and to be liked. But jobs came up for extra money. And the supervisor at the time decided he wanted to give those jobs to his friends. And I was the only one and all these men, because they didn't want the repercussions if they spoke up. I was the only one that spoke up. So I was labeled a troublemaker. I was labeled a problem. I was even told by the chief at that facility, "Oh, Samantha, you're a problem." And my coworkers that I broke bread with, that I was running on this hamster wheel for doing all the things, they were angry with me because they thought I was taking money out of their pockets. And I remember one night, now I'm sad. Now I'm just like in a shell of myself. I've ostracized myself because I didn't want anyone to say anything. I was just, I felt like I was biting my nails all the time, walking on eggshells because God forbid they said anything. They already were mad at me. No one was really speaking to me. And I remember one night working at night, and remember, I'm still the only woman. And we used to dig holes on the airfield at least 12 feet deep. And I had climbed down the ladder and we had to clean it out. And they was sweeping dirt on me, literally sweeping the
Wow.
dirt back in the hole, finding it funny. It should be no big deal, but I'm by myself. So that was part of my breaking point because being afraid, not saying anything, I felt alone. I felt sad. So I decided to go to a different facility because I couldn't work there and feel safe. So I just had transferred to a different facility, met a different group of people, but I still had that fear of speaking up, showing out, and being my bold self, unapologetically me. But as I grew and I became a supervisor, I learned that I needed to speak up. I wasn't okay being quiet. I wasn't okay hiding behind other people or having people speak up for me. I knew I had to have my own back. And that meant doing the work for myself and on figuring out why I was so afraid, figuring out why I didn't speak up, figuring out how I can learn again how to be me. And I saw so many women coming in after. When I say so many women, I mean like 2 or 3. I'm exaggerating with so many women. But as I'm meeting these women coming in, they were looking to me because now I'm bold, I speak up, I'm intolerant of any BS that's happening, and they were asking me questions that just seemed like, "Hey, just do this, do that." But it wasn't as simple. I had to remind myself it wasn't that simple in the beginning because I always wasn't who I am now. So I saw the need for women having someone that they can speak to, someone they can talk to, someone that give them the comfort that they need. Because when you're all alone, you can't find comfort sometimes, especially when you haven't done any work on yourself. So me, like I said, having gone through certain situations allowed me to grow as a human. So everything happens to us, not for us. I mean, everything happens for us, not to us. So it allowed me to grow into this human that I am today, and it allows me to see the need of other women. So I'm here for it.
There's so much to be said about using the hard things that we go through to elevate ourselves, elevate other people, to use those circumstances or situations and find the good in them and to come out ahead, learn something from them. However, that really pisses me off that that happens, Samantha, that they were literally sweeping dirt onto you. How how disrespectful. And I'm sure that that was just one of many situations where you felt kind of unsafe, honestly, and like overpowered?
I felt very unsafe safe. I was scared, I was alone, I was by myself. I've had other situations where I've had it's craziness the things when you think back over things you've gone through where you stayed at a job where they tell women, "Oh, well, if you're not happy, just leave." But you don't always have that. You can't always just leave a job. You have to support yourself. But I had a boss tell me he just didn't like me. And he was just nasty and mean because he could, because he felt he had the right to, because I was a woman. And at the end of the day, they think that we're taking their jobs away, taking away from a man, and women aren't supposed to be in these jobs.
And
So
what is your response to that, to people who say there should be, male assigned jobs and woman assigned jobs? What is your response when that opinion
fuck you.
surfaces? Yes. I love the bluntness of that. There's not even a question.
I wasn't sure if I could say it or not, but that's exactly how I felt. I said if it wasn't right, you'd cut it out. But that's exactly how I feel at this
Right.
moment in my life. And having done the work and doing this work and helping other women, I say, fuck you. And I tell them, I have no problem voicing my opinion, telling them how I feel, letting them know that I'm the boss and it don't matter if you think I'm here or not. This is what you're going to do. Yes, I do assert my authority because it's mine to do. That means that you're not giving me anything. I own this, meaning that I own the job that I do. That means that I am responsible for this. That means that I am qualified and verified, and I get to show up and I get to dictate what's happening and what's not happening here. So, absolutely at no point do I think there is a man's job or a woman's job. And every step and every day that I walk in there, it's mine. And I do it to the best of my ability. So, no one can tell me what's for me. I already know it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's so important for people to hear because there are times when women show up in spaces and they feel like there's no space for them. And they're made to feel that way, right? Our society does that
Yes.
on purpose. You getting to the point where you have been able to look within yourself for that self-love and self-validation rather than seeking it outside of yourself, and the way you did earlier on in your journey with, not wanting to upset anybody or walking on eggshells. Tell me how that transitioned for you.
It started, honestly, I was sad, I was broken, and I was one day, a direct report challenged me, as per usual. This was just the norm at one point, and told me I wasn't his boss. It was, let me tell you, it was a fall, beautiful day outside. It was, and I love the fall. That's how I can remember this. So it was a fall day in September, and I see him. He's somewhere where he's not supposed to be. And questioned him, and he went to tell me he doesn't have to do it because I'm not a real boss.
Wow.
I'm not a real boss. Okay, no biggie. I can do that. Well, right now I am, and I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and I need you to do it now. And at that time, me being who I am, and I still do it, I threw my hands on my shoulder, signifying my level, basically like I'm a general, like I run stuff, which I do. And he was insulted by this. And unbeknownst to me, he went to the chief at the time and told the chief what I did. And the chief, I'm thinking, we're having this meeting, Samantha, we're going to have a meeting, talk. So I'm thinking the chief is going to say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. This is her status. You have to listen. Samantha, well, you can tell someone what to do. You can give directives, but you don't have to be so animated. I was animated.
Mm. Mm.
I tell you, I felt like I was sliding underneath the table and someone should have covered me up with a blanket because another time I felt unsafe. I didn't feel secure. I didn't feel like anyone had my back, not even a little bit. I was like a deer in honestly, I was like a deer caught in headlights. I was just staring out, and I remember going back to my office, just, like, wandering there, and I sat down, and in my office and I still have the sign to this day, a friend of mine, he gave it to me as a joke because I always used to say, "Nobody has my back. Nobody has my back. It's me all alone." And he said to me he put the sign in my office in front of me that said, "Behind every successful woman is herself." When I went back to my office, I sat down and I looked at that sign, and something at that moment clicked and shifted that I needed to have my own back. And by having my own back meant I needed to do something with me. I needed to start showing up for me. So I started in the coaching space, getting coached, learning how to figure out, well, not learning how to, figuring out why I wasn't showing up for me and how to. And that honestly, Sarah, meant stripping away everything that I was taught, all the things I had learned, and just being raw. That's ultimately what he was. And I remember getting to that point of unlearning who I was. And that was the saddest day of my life when I really realized what I was doing it because it seemed like the person that I knew was gone. I was no longer Samantha. I was no longer Samantha Kaye. I was no longer this human. But as I started learning me, I started enjoying the person I was becoming because I started keeping my word to myself. I started speaking up for me and not looking for someone else to do it. I started speaking out. I started just being there for me, meaning, hey, I'm going to do this to make me feel better. I'm going to do this for me, meaning to love me first and not everyone else around me. And that in itself was my turning point to get me to this point, learning to love myself, learning to have my own back. Now, instead of me walking around saying, oh, nobody has my back, I can tell you 110% for sure that I have my own back to this day. I don't look for anyone to have me, to hold me, to keep me because I give myself that first.
Yeah, I can see how that would develop in the scene that you find yourself in and day out. And honestly, understanding that you will never benefit from playing small, everybody else benefits by you playing small. So that sinking that you felt like you were doing in that chair in that office, again, I hate that that happened. I hate that that was a moment in your memories. But if it pushed you forward to be who you are today, if it was part of the journey that needed to happen to get to where you are right now, I mean, I don't want to say that we'd be thankful for something like that. That's a step too far, but just to have the moment of awareness of like, look, I need to I need to be everything to me.
I think it's important, and I am, to be very honest, I am thankful for it. I'm thankful for the moments, I'm thankful for the happenings. I'm not, like you said, did I want it to happen that way? Did I want to have the problems? Absolutely not. What would it have allowed me to make these changes and to grow and to shift and to become this person that speaks out and show up for women? I'm not sure if it would have gotten me where I am right now. I know what's destined for us is for us, but those steps and that need that I see other women have, that's what got me there, learning who I was. So I am
Mhm.
grateful for those moments because I didn't have to have them at all. I could have been in the same place running in that hamster wheel, you know, people pleasing, you know, showing up for
Right.
everyone else but myself because that's what we as
Hmm.
women ultimately are taught to show up for the rest of the world. And if people like us, then we have to do all the things to make them happy, and we forget about ourselves. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for my lessons. I'm grateful for the joy that came after that, though. That joy is worth all of the lessons, to be very honest.
Well, and I love what you said right there about thankful for the lessons because, everything in life is a lesson, is something to learn from, right? And it's up to us what we turn that into. It can be something that we thrive from, like you have, or we can slink back and get even smaller in the spaces that we're already invisible in. So it's up to us how we show up in our life, how we receive those lessons, I suppose. Um, but that doesn't make the bullshit around us okay either.
No.
It doesn't mean that that's something that should be overlooked. So, not taking responsibility for men in particular is bullshit in a male dominated field or industry. That's something that is really you're very passionate about.
Yes. Oh, I know it's no excuse for their nonsense at all. That's why I don't take it. That's why I don't allow it. That's why I speak up every chance I get. And most of them are upset or sad or they're angry at Samantha because she lets them know this is unacceptable. We will not have this. We will not do this. And you will respect me and any other human that comes along. This is what, so that's another lesson that I learned to speak up for myself. That means it gives me the ability to show other women how to speak up. So I never excuse bad behavior. I never excuse what has happened, but what I've grown, how I've grown from those lessons has allowed me to have a voice because a lot of women, they teach them fight for the money, fight for this. What about fighting for yourself? And it doesn't have to be a battle like, oh, we gonna throw hands up and we gonna punch each other in the face, but just to be able to have that voice and that confidence and that voice that you have, that you're right and you're going, as my mother used to say, stand flat-footed in your convictions of your right, no matter what is the key. We have to be able to know for sure, even if they're wrong and they treat you wrong, that you get to stand up in your rightness. You get to stand up in your belief in what your abilities are and continue to move forward and not let that change you. It may slow you down, it may stop you for a moment, but you get to keep moving. And I think that's what happens in these workforces where women are the only one or they're a few. They don't know which way to go. They don't know how to stand. And they think that, like you said, these behaviors that are being displayed by these men, if they say anything is wrong, and they'll be that are wrong, the women feel they'll be considered as the wrong party. But them learning and understanding that they get to speak up regardless, that's the key here. Even in their wrongness, even though you may think you're going to be perceived as this person that isn't liked, that isn't loved, but just to think that you're not going to be everything that everyone else needs to them and you forget about yourself is no longer correct. So that's the shift. Instead of thinking of it as right or wrong, because we as human beings only get to decide what's right or wrong in our lives. So their behavior, if it's right, wrong, or indifferent, doesn't matter when it comes from you, when you know your value, when you know your worth, when you show up for you. That's the difference. So that's what I need women to know. It's not about them anymore. It's not about how they feel you should be treated. It's about how you stand in that,
Mhm.
whatever they're doing. You get to say, "No, you're not going to. No, I'm not going to allow this." You get to speak up because as long as we continue to give them that, they still have the power over us. And I'd be damned if I give them that, or any woman should at this point in their lives. You get to stand up. You get to express yourself. You get to reclaim everything that you've given in the past to them, meaning your ability to speak up, your ability to stand tall, sit up straight, and to just say no. We get to do that as women. We have been conditioned and told that we had a place to be in. And as long as we're saying what they did was wrong and pointing a finger and we're doing this because of them, they have the power. And it's not despite them, it's because of us we get to choose to stand up. We get to have a voice. We get to say no. We get to redirect. We get to rearrange this bullshit that people are telling us is supposed to be. So no longer giving them. We no longer give them the power. We take it, we hold it, and we assert it. Ha!
That was beautiful.
I got caught up. I'm so sorry. I just was like, whoa, whoa.
No, I love it when you're speaking from a place of passion, and clearly you are. And that's exactly what is needed to be said and heard, and it's powerful. So there's no apologies necessary. That was a beautiful description of just what's on your heart in that regard for sure. So
Oh,
thank
thank you.
you for that. You had said something about feelings and I don't remember exactly how you stated it, but it made me think of a question about navigating our emotions in a male-dominated space and how that can be seen as a weakness when they are shown.
And they always try to use that. I've been told. I have so many I've been told, or I've been the question. I've been told I was too emotional. Samantha, calm down. But if you work in an industry that's dominated by men, men are always yelling, screaming.
They're
Um,
so loud.
they're ridiculous, but they always want to tell you as a woman to be quiet, to be still. You don't need to do all of that. But no. But you was just yelling a minute ago. You're not going to tell me what you want to say and say what you want. I am fine. I get to speak up just like you. We're not going to stop me and shut me down. And I have the right to be passionate about anything. So understanding that that's their thoughts about how I am reacting, I have to remind myself. Not that I don't react sometimes and have a little hissy fit with them, like, who the, don't talk to me like that. I do. But reminding myself that they have the right to think what they want to think about me. I can't stop them from thinking, but their thoughts come from this patriarchal system that
Mhm.
has defined a place and where women should be and how women show up. And anytime I am not in that little ball, I call it a ball because like a little bubble they want to put us in, then I'm not doing that. Then I'm not the type of woman I'm not acting like the type of woman that they feel is the right, I'm not the right type of woman. I'm acting outside of character of a woman. So no, I don't get to be put in this little bubble and not say anything. I don't get to be told how I should show up. I get to show up fully as me, unapologetically. And because I remember times of being afraid to speak up, not yelling or not saying, because I didn't know what they were going to think about me, who they're going to think I am, because they were uncomfortable. I'm not responsible for their discomfort or their comfort. Only person I'm responsible for, and I want every woman to know that, only person you're responsible is for yourself. You're not responsible for how they feel, their anger, their sadness, their anxiety, because of who you are as a woman and how you show up. You are responsible for you and they are responsible for them. And but again, society has told us we're supposed to be everything for everyone and give them what they need from us. And that's how we
Mhm.
show up. But until you become confident in yourself and your abilities and how we're even grateful that we're given jobs and opportunities in male dominated positions. Like we don't qualify at all. And that's another thing. When we learn not to do that, we show up differently. We don't give a damn if they're happy or sad or think that we should be still. Oh, sit there and look pretty. We don't do that anymore because we show up different. So
Mhm.
that's what we have to recognize and realize that we get to show up 100% as ourselves. Damn what they think about us, damn what they feel, because it doesn't matter. What matters is how we think and feel about ourselves.
Right. That is so on point. Exactly that. And, nobody is telling the men in the room to calm down, right?
Never.
And just for clarity, like nobody in the world of calming down has ever calmed down by being told to calm down. Okay. So that's just something that activates people, I feel like, anyways, but it's never said to men.
Never. It's funny. The other day, s- this man was talking. He's in charge of uniforms and stuff for the men. Fine. And he decided to give uniforms to a different unit they weren't supposed to have. So, but I placed the order. I'm the one that did all this, and you decide to give stuff away. So I'm talking to him and I'm being very direct. And the same face that I have right now, this is what I can't understand why you did X, Y, and Z. Another man walks up and he starts directing the conversation to him.
Hmm.
So I interjected and redirected. I'm talking to you. He's not talking to you. And it's funny because even say, let's call him Bob. Bob was like, well, Samantha. I said, no, I'm talking to him. You get to redirect the conversation. You don't need women. I can't even tell you, you don't need permission to redirect. You don't need permission to be you. You don't need permission to do anything that you feel is right for you and you're show that you're capable and you're able. You get to show up as you unapologetically. I just like, ah,
Right. Yeah, that's such a frustrating situation, I'm sure, that you found yourself in. And I think for men too, they are also culturally groomed, right? I will say that there are men in my life that do not purposefully want to piss off women, right? They're not purposefully trying to take anything away or any power away from them. But I think just like women have been groomed to be a certain way, men have too. And getting them away from what has always been programmed into them is a whole nother layer of challenge. I mean, you're going to need a sidekick here at some point to handle the male side of things here. You got to focus on the women. You need to have a like-minded person of life as yourself to focus on the men because they also need to unlearn what they have been programmed to believe.
yes,
Because I don't think the mission is to hate men or
no,
overtake men. I mean, that's certainly, we just want our place amongst the world, right?
yeah. I think that, like you said, we've all been programmed one way or the other. If we're a man or if you're a woman, we've been told since birth how we're supposed to show up. This is what women do, this is what men do, and you're supposed to protect and you're supposed to serve us as women, serve men. So they automatically feel they have a certain place. They feel like they're supposed to do certain things, and then that expectation of what they have for us falters onto us immediately. And we go, okay, no problem. Normally, anything outside of that norm, we're not conforming to what society says. And it's unfair to say that we're responsible for how they feel because we're not. It's for them to want to do the work on themselves. It's for them to want to understand, even for them as men to want to understand why we think and feel the way we do, why this change is happening. That's their responsibility. A lot of times we become responsible for everyone else,
Mhm.
and I am not. I have a good friend of mine. I would consider him an ally, and I do. He's fighting for me as much as I fight for myself. We work together, and opportunity. He was like, wanted a job that generated more money because we have different jobs and you may work overtime, things like that. And the job that I was doing with my team, he wanted it. First of all, I'm at a higher level than him, but he wanted it. He said, Samantha, I'm going to go after that. I was going to ask for that job. I said, well, what makes you think you're supposed to have it? And he was like, well, you make enough, don't you? And this is my friend.
Hmm.
When I tell you he's my friend, like my best buddy, but he has been programmed and socialized to
Mm-hmm.
think that men are supposed to make more money than women. So even though he would fight for me if someone else did it for me, he himself thinks I have enough. What is enough for me? That's what I wanted to know from him. What is enough money for me in comparison to what you have? And he couldn't answer that. So in this socialization, that becomes his responsibility to figure out why he feels that way or why he
Mm-hmm.
thinks the way he do. It's not mine. Mine is for me to understand that I deserve it and that I'm going to stand in it and I'm going to take what I deserve or what I want. Not even what I deserve, what I want. Why can't my needs and my wants be before anyone else's?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
socialization has this world, the way we've been socialized in this world has messed up the way we think and the way we show up. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
don't hate men, love men, all the things. But at the end of the day, I do have my own rights. I can ask for what I want. And I believe I should have it just as much as they believe they should have certain things. And it's no certain place that I'm supposed to be that I don't choose to be. I have rights. And I don't
Right.
think anyone should.
And if those tables were turned and it was you telling him you were going to go for that position and you saying, well, you have enough. I mean, that would have been unheard of for you to say that out loud, right? But just like he doesn't get to decide what is enough for you, you don't get to decide what's enough for him. And nobody should be deciding that for anybody else. We shouldn't be limiting each other or ourselves for that matter in what is enough, what we want and deserve. I'm with you in that. Like that's not even the word because we deserve it all, right? It's how much do
Yeah,
you want of it?
right. And that's what I mean. Like you think, like you said, men would never, but they have been brought up to think that they can have whatever we want. Whereas women growing up, you get with, "Oh, if you're a good girl or if you do this, you're supposed to have a certain thing." But men are taught to have it all, get it all, take it all, receive it all. And anytime we show up differently, then we're considered a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I need, women every day. And this is what I help my clients with, understanding that you don't have to be what the world thinks you should be. And it's okay. And I promise you, it is okay for them, men, to feel with and think the way they think. We don't have to change them. They have to want to work on themselves. Because us force feeding them what we know and believe to be true for us doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work because they've been conditioned just like we have.
Mm-hmm.
We've just taken it upon ourselves to do more, want more, and to
Mm-hmm.
shift the world that we live in. And we
Mm-hmm.
get to change it. And I'm excited to change it, to tell you the truth, because it doesn't necessarily have to be what everyone says it is. We get to show
Right.
up differently. I don't know. I get so excited when I think about the change, but understanding my clients understanding that they can put themselves first. That's the thing. That's why I push self-allyship so much. Being your own person, having your own back, because until you can do that, going into your career, going into life, you're always going to show up for someone else before you show up for yourself and then lay yourself on this cross and play victim. Like, oh my God, this is what they did to me. But showing up for you and being there for you is the key to all of this, and loving yourself and not just caring, because women are taught to care for themselves. Let me get a foot massage. Let me get a massage. Let me take myself on a trip and it'll make it okay. It won't. Not until you love yourself. And men are taught the other opposite. Let's give her enough, care for her enough to keep her quiet. But what if you loved yourself and cared for yourself enough to stand up and say, no, it's okay. Thank you so much. But I got this. And this is the respect that I demand.
Mm-hmm. It's powerful. That's so powerful. And, you know, I want to talk more about how you're helping women. And, when you're mentioning this is how I show up for my clients and helping them change their mindset, right? So that they feel empowered to show up in any room that they walk into, to sit in the seat at the table that they choose to. I think that what you're doing is just really overdue, for sure, for one.
Thank you.
Absolutely. This is really something that I want to hear more about. And, like you said, having people that are watching you and coming to you for guidance, even if they're not doing it directly, but to be somebody even just in your energy and in your presence and taking mental notes of what Samantha is doing and what she is advocating for, that in and of itself, just having the conversations and being present in the vibe that you put out around you day in and day out is just very intentional. And no doubt the two, three couple women that you say have followed you into the industry that you're in, they're seeing it and they're taking note, even if they're not saying anything. But the way you work directly with clients that come to you, tell us more about how that looks.
Okay, when I work with my clients, I work with them on 4 pillars. I work with them personally, professionally, emotionally, and self-allyship, because we have to understand that our thoughts and our feelings, I'm a thought work coach, um, and I go in and I help them understand that these thoughts that they're having are just that. The situation is not what is that thought. The thought is much bigger
Mm,
inside your mind than it is outside, and understanding the entire circumstances and understanding what you want in life and how you want to redirect it, and allowing yourself to build yourself to the person that you want to see, and elevating yourself to there and how to get there. So understanding that your thoughts and your feelings create an outcome, but understanding that core belief of where it came from. A lot of people fail to understand that it's a core belief that we have, that we've been taught, that's been instilled in us, that has been passed down generationally, even in society. These are norms, family norms, traditions, but everything can be changed. Traditions are something that people do over and over again, and we have the right to change it if it's no longer, even if it is serving us, if we just don't want it, we get to change it. So I help my clients understand that the first thing is to do is to self ally, learn you, figure out if that person is serving you, who you are.
mhm,
And a lot of times, we as women don't even know who we are because society hasn't allowed us to even recognize that we are just human beings, and that
mhm,
we're funny, that we're a beacon of light. We don't even recognize that what we do is attach ourselves to what we do. If you're a mother, if you're a firefighter, if you're a structural supervisor, we attach that to ourselves, and understanding who you are outside of these roles and responsibilities that you have taken on, that in itself allows you to self ally and become your best person. And from there, you can take it because now you're loving on yourself, you're giving yourself what you need, and you go into a job, you're showing up different. You're showing up confident. You're showing up letting people know that you're here to do a job that you earned, that no one gave it to you. Because when you walk
mhm,
in and knowing your value that you bring, you walk in differently. So I work with my clients to understand that and to let them know, as I said earlier, that these people do not get to dictate your place in this job.
mhm,
You get to. So working that's how I work with my clients. First, we're gonna self-ally, then we're gonna get on the personal level and figure out the core beliefs and understanding where you wanna be, who you are, a professional, and those emotions that come up, and understanding and allowing yourself to feel them, tap into them, instead of pushing them down and not understanding why you're feeling what you're feeling. So once we get into that, you show up differently as a woman. You show up stronger,
mhm.
you show up brighter, you show up with this glow that no one else can take from you. You show up not giving all of you in order to get a return on investment. That's what I call it. A lot of times we give away all these pieces of ourselves to get a return on investment so that people will love on
Mhm.
us. So I work with my clients to stop giving away all those pieces of themselves, hoping that they get in return. I teach them to give it to themselves.
That is just phenomenal. I'm so excited for the work that you're doing. Something that came to mind to me when you were describing all of that is lack of confidence is something that is taught to us, that we learned. We're not born lacking confidence. That's something that we are told we should minimize ourselves with not being overly confident or self-assured. That is something that I am so thankful you're working towards helping people reclaim that, find themselves again, remind themselves who the fuck they are, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Because at the end of the day, like you said, if you're too confident, you're cocky, you're all these negative words instead of being confident. That is such an amazing thing that you're courageous enough to step out. You're brilliant. You're brave. None of those things come to mind. So I want women to understand that being confident in yourself, it is okay because we've been taught that, oh, you don't want to seem like you're too much. People won't like you. They put all these negatives and they attach it to confidence. So women step away from it because, if you're too confident, a man won't like you, he won't love you. This is even in your personal life.
Right. It's so beyond the
Outside,
workplace.
it is like, no, I can be confident and the right person is going to love me and all my confidence. But we've been taught to play it small.
Hmm.
That's when people will like you because you don't want to be too much. If you're too much, you people won't want to be around you. So we tell ourselves this. So we play ourselves really small. We
Hmm.
minimize our own value that we bring into a job
Hmm.
because we don't want people to think that we are over the top, that, oh, look at her. She's a know it all. All these labels, fear,
Other than just know it all, meaning educated and skilled and knowledgeable are really the words.
correct. We don't, I'm teaching my clients to embrace those things though. All of those labels, those are like your
Hmm.
superpowers that
Right.
people can't do anything with, that they can't shift or change or take away from you. And if we embrace it and change the way we're thinking, and it's not as simple as just, okay, I'm going to think this thought. It takes time and it takes practice to understand where they're coming from, why they're coming up. But still, learning that in itself helps you recognize that it's not you.
Hmm.
It's what other people are thinking about you and what you're
Hmm.
capable of doing, your capabilities in itself. Could you imagine that? You're an amazing human. You step into this, you bring so much value. You bring so much knowledge, you know, that people want to insult you for it. And then you
Hmm.
feel bad and you question your own worth as a human. And women are taught that because you don't want to be too much that no one else likes you or supports you or no one will have your back. That is so sad in itself that
Hmm.
women have been taught to be this person. And it's not for you, it's for the next person. It's been taught as a little girl, if you sit in a corner, you've been sitting pretty, someone will talk to you. You don't want to be loud. People don't like loud girls. Why can't you be loud? Why can't you ask for what you want? Why can't you step up and step out and be beautiful?
Well, you
So,
can, and you're showing up in the world reminding us that we can. And one of my favorite ways to think about that idea of you're too much or don't be too much is not so much that we're too much, it's that the other people are not enough.
yes, yes. And we've been taught and socialized to think that. I remember years and years and years ago, like I said, I've been in this field 24 years. I had who I considered a friend. She said to me, someone's asking me about highway directions. I know all of these things because my father used to talk about the highway. And I was saying, no, you should do this, that, and the other. And I'm giving my opinion. And she was so offended because that's not what you're supposed to do. They're not going to like you because you're telling. And in my mind, and honestly, I was angry because I felt that she wanted
Mm-hmm.
me to be small.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, when you think about it, she was afraid for me. afraid of me
Yeah.
being this person.
Yeah. Maybe she was trying to protect you in some way, and that's how it came out as feeling as almost like being judgmental.
It came out as judgmental, but it wasn't. You don't want to be that, Samantha. Oh my God. What if they think? And I remember, and this was in my younger days, kind of scaling back because I
Mm,
didn't want to be a problem. I didn't want all these things. People want to protect you in the strangest ways, but we get to decide if we agree with it. And it all comes from safety. If we feel
mhm.
safe hiding, then we will. But if you're not looking for safety, if you're looking to stand up and stand out and make yourself feel safe for yourself, you're going to show up differently. And we get to
Mhm.
create that once we get to know ourselves.
For sure. I think the way that your friend was trying to, quote unquote, protect you was just a projection of her own fears, right, for herself as well. But, I really, before we run out of time, this conversation is so multifaceted, but I want to respect your time. But before we run out of it, I want to ask you your opinion or what your stance is on the way women treat other women in male dominated workspaces and the competition that can come with that. I see you smiling as I'm asking you this question. I know you have so much to say.
I do. We're probably going to have to come meet each other again because this in itself is insane. Some women, I feel that they are intimidated by other women because of the fact that it's only a few women. And it becomes a competition because they don't
Yeah.
want to be pushed to the side. Or, and I've seen it for myself, the men make it a competition for women.
Hmm.
So you feel you're losing out on something. And I don't think it's necessarily jealousy, but it's a fear of getting lost.
Hmm.
Have I seen other women who do? I right now the physical plant manager where I work at is a woman, and she feels that every woman should have it just as hard as she did because she had it hard. And I think that's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Because who says that? Who wants another woman to suffer? Who wants another woman to have nightmares? Who wants another woman to feel pain? So, those are her personal things that she has going on for her in her mind.
Hmm.
So, I think her, like I said, hers is something personal within herself.
Yeah, right.
Some women, like I said, it's because of the environment and that fear of being pushed out. And some is because of the environment they work in and the men putting us against, oh my God, Jane is doing such a good job. She's this. Now you're feeling you're losing and you fought so hard to get here. But once we become more confident and understanding that this is what I do and I bring the best that I possibly can, and they're bringing, and even if you change the way you think about things, I'm doing such a good job. Another woman is coming in because they
Hmm.
see the value women bring. But we don't look
Hmm.
at it like that because that's
Yeah.
not what society has told us. You think about it when because we're in these jobs where it's only one or two or a few women, society has told us that it's not the job for women. This is a job for men. So now you're an anomaly. Now you're like this thing that's little gold star that's sitting there. Now you're worried because they bring in another gold star. So I don't think it's purposely done to be jealous or to have that little back and forth. Some women it is, like I said, but
Hmm.
then it's unfortunate because we know because we've been socialized that women are supposed to be teachers, nurses, this, that, and the other, and you're doing something different. Now you're all fighting another battle. You fought this one battle, especially if you've risen in the company. Now you're fighting to keep it, or you think you have to fight it. So I think women, we need to talk. We need to
Hmm.
really understand each other and understand that we don't have to fight against each other because you are enough in these jobs. What you're doing is enough. What you
Hmm.
bring is enough. And when we start realizing that what we're doing is enough and we're enough, there is no reason to battle each other or
Right.
to fear each other.
Mm.
You know, I had a young lady that was hired, and her thing was she was afraid of me because every the men had told her I was bossy, I was this, I was that. Yeah, I am, because I am a boss, so I am bossy. Yeah, I'm direct. Yes, I'm assertive. But the fear that they put in her and that she allowed because she wasn't feeling confident in her own abilities. But if
Hmm.
she was confident in her own abilities at that time, she would have been able to walk in and say, "Hey," introduce herself and build a bond
Hmm.
between her and I.
Hmm.
So something
Yeah.
gets lost in between when we allow all our fears, more fear. Fear is a crazy thing that happens. Either you're going to fight against it, you're going to hide, that flight, flight, or fawn. That's
Hmm.
what we do. So fear comes with lack of knowledge. Fear comes from insecurity. Fear comes from all these things that happen, which creates anxiety. So we go to
Hmm.
that safe place in our mind for protection. So instead of being afraid of each other, I think if we embrace each other, we're going to grow and we're going to excel.
That is absolute truth. I think when we can get to the point where we're fixing each other's crowns without telling the world they were crooked in the first place, we have won.
Yes, that is so true. I'm going to straighten that up for you, sis. You good.
Hmm. Absolutely. This has just been a phenomenal gold mine of conversation today. Thank you so much for everything you brought here today.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for having me. I really appreciate you allowing me to share my message, talk to your audience. I
Tell
just
us,
amazing.
tell us where we can find you
You
outside of
can,
this space.
outside of this space, you can find me at SamanthaKHarris.com. The K is spelled Kaye. You can find me on LinkedIn at Samantha Harris and then Samantha K. Harris in parentheses. And you can also find me on Instagram as Coach Samantha K. With you don't have to spell out the word K. You just put Samantha K.
Well, and everything will be linked for sure in the show notes. So it's just a click. Everybody can find you direct from here at least. Um, and, this again, this has just been so perfect today. Is
Oh,
there anything that you want to leave us thinking about before we go?
what do I want to think? Think about yourselves. I want everyone to think about you. Put you first. Focus on you and allow yourself to embrace who you are as a human because that's where the growth comes.
I love it. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. I love this today.
You don't need permission to do anything you feel is right for you. Own what you want. Become who you are. Stop playing small because someone else thinks you're too loud or too much. you're always going to be too much of something for anyone who fears your flame, who fears your fire. This has been a really powerful episode for me. Thank you, Samantha, for blazing the trail and helping the world see that women deserve a place at the table too, especially at male-dominated ones. As the late, great Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, women belong in all places where decisions are being made. Stay connected with Samantha on Instagram, LinkedIn, or via her website. All links are in the show notes. Share this episode, and if you haven't already, please subscribe or follow What's on Your Plate podcast. Doing so keeps the conversation coming and helps other people become aware of them too. Thanks for listening, friends. Until next time.